All right, thanks everybody for coming out tonight. I'll apologize for the bad weather. I think I've met everybody here, but if not, my name is Sharon Doss. I am a BDPA board member responsible for programs and professional development. So we're excited tonight to have as our guest speaker, Mr. Darrin Redus. Darrin is the founder and president and CEO of MainStreet Inclusion Advisors Incorporated. Okay. And MainStreet is a national privately held strategic planning and entrepreneurial development organization specializing in connecting and preparing historically disconnected and underserved populations for the full and equitable participation in high growth entrepreneurship. And that's what he's going to talk to us about tonight. Inclusion and entrepreneurship opportunities here in Detroit, partner organizations that we can partner with, especially BDPA and things that we can do. So we're just really excited. Hopefully a few more members will come in and join us, but let's give him a hand. Thank
you, Sharon. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me. This is a subject that is really near and dear to me. I've been in this space for some time. As was mentioned, I run a company called MainStreet Inclusion Advisors. I founded that about 8 months ago. Prior to that was working for a incubator-like group in Cleveland, similar to a tech town group called Jumpstart that I worked for about 8 years. Jumpstart was actually one of the nation's first incubators, originally created in 2004. And my role in that organization was their chief inclusion officer, which more or less just meant making sure that the work of that organization really reached historically disconnected populations like minorities and women. When we talk about entrepreneurial opportunities, we'll dig into all of this today. It's important to kind of really set some terminology so we're all kind of speaking the same language. A lot of these technology incubator type groups, like a tech town here, they have a focus on technology-based entrepreneurship. In certain cases, high growth, not necessarily high tech. There's all sorts of buckets of entrepreneurship. So we'll talk about that and how you kind of prepare differently for the different types of businesses. But before I get into all that, a couple little basic ground rules for our session here tonight. One, I really need you guys to participate. This really needs to be participatory. The last thing I want to do is just get up here and talk at you guys for an hour. That's not a lot of fun. So this needs to be participatory. I'm assuming that if you were pressed to the point where someone was going to write you a check for $100 grand if you came up with one question, you could probably come up with a question for this topic. So everybody just think about at least one question that you may have on this topic tonight, just as part of our participation. So one is participate. Two, in terms of ground rules, is challenge me. So this is a space in terms of entrepreneurship that I've been blessed to be in for a very long time. Started fresh out of college back in 1988, working at National City Bank years before PNC acquired them. So challenge me. Challenge me meaning tough questions, anything that you may be pressing, anything that perhaps you've heard doesn't really sit too well with you. Just some things that haven't really been answered appropriately for you, whatever it may be, just challenge me, ask the tough questions. Quick little survey. How many of you here are either current or aspiring entrepreneurs? Current or aspiring?
Current.
Current?
In the process.
In the process?
Kind of do consulting on the side.
Okay. Aspiring, okay.
I'm an entrepreneur.
Okay, very good, very good, very good. And what's your current business?
It's called Kinetic Group. We actually acquire
help businesses resolve some of their expenditure issues. We deal on the commercial side, the residential side, in 12 different markets. It falls under the direct sales
Okay.
type of services.
Good. And so, we're gonna, as we talk about entrepreneurship, we're gonna also get into, growth, preparing for capital, some of the kind of burning and pressing things that are standard for whether you're trying to grow a current business or get one off the ground. At some point, you need to raise some money from some source. And so we'll talk about some of that as well. And again, by all means, challenge me, ask me some tough questions. Prior to, again, starting my own company recently, last 8 years prior to that was with this incubator type group in Cleveland. Prior to that was an entrepreneur, again, running my own company for about 4 years, and then prior to that, spent about 16 years in banking. And most of the banking was, small business lending. That ended up leading the region in terms of all the banking officers reported to me. I've been on the loan committees, and so, I'm older than I look, guys. So, by all means, ask me, the tough questions. I've been on the other side where entrepreneurs are firing away, trying to get their deals done. And I've been either on the credit committee or the investment committee, kind of rendering a decision, yea or nay. So again, ask me the tough questions. Part of the session tonight deals specifically with the unique opportunities that the BDPA has. And I want to spend some time on that first before we take this deeper dive into entrepreneurship. And Beverly and I have had a number of terrific conversations and accelerating with respect to really positioning BDPA as a player, a real player with all of this entrepreneurship and innovation that's going on in the city. I'll be very specific. So TechTown is one of the main institutional players in the region, as is Bizdom, which is Dan Gilbert's incubator, as is Next Energy across the street, as is a group called Auto Harvest, as is Henry Ford Innovation Institute, and there's various others. And we're in the process of connecting all of these to BDPA in some way. So we just finished up, everyone sang a little song.
Oh.
So just nothing major, maybe your favorite tune, something that, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But we did ask the question of whether you are a current or aspiring entrepreneur. So, current, aspiring, neither?
Karen,
Okay. The nature of your company or business?
telecom.
Telecom? Okay, good. So, we're going to dig into entrepreneurship, dig into the opportunities that BDPA has, specifically what it's partnering and connecting to, and really, as I mentioned, want to really make sure we get to the real issues that may be pressing on you as you think about either starting or growing your company. I won't reiterate everything I said, but just real quickly, for Jim just walked in, spent 16 years in commercial finance, primarily at National City before PNC acquired them some time back. And all that to say, I've been on the lending side, been on the credit committees, then spent a lot of years in venture capital and investments and all that. So any form of capital, be it debt, equity, grants, what have you, I've been through those various processes. So any questions that folks may have on that, I want to make sure we dig into that this evening. Let's talk a little bit about Blacks in technology, this whole subject matter that we're talking about today, because while entrepreneurship is certainly a big piece of what we're going to dig into, entrepreneurship, first and foremost, is not and should not be for everybody. Running your own company is more than a notion. It is a process whereby there's tremendous sacrifices, there's a tremendous commitment, there's tremendous risk in many cases. And again, just depending on what your risk profile may be, how many hours a day you want to work, et cetera, may not be for everybody. That doesn't mean, however, that the entrepreneurial opportunities taking place in this region, whether you're an entrepreneur or not, you can still participate. What do I mean by that? This is one of the great issues thus far as it relates to, I'll just say minority, but African American, Hispanic, Asian participation in a lot of these tech-oriented companies. You don't have to be the founder of a company to participate in it. There are so many groups in town, like in Tech Town, whose business is to source new ideas, new innovations from wherever they can find them. Henry Ford Innovation Institute, Wayne State University, all these groups are birthing new ideas. And some founder is not necessarily the person that's going to take that idea to the proverbial next level. There's so many founders of companies, their skills were primarily designed to create the technology, but not designed to be the rainmaker to bring in new business for that company and all the skills that are required of a CEO. And I say that to say, there are a growing number of businesses, and this is one of the unique connects that BDPA has. There's a growing number of businesses, whether they be founded by white males, doesn't matter, that are looking for talent to join their management team as the chief technology officer, as the chief marketing officer, chief financial officer, whatever it may be. And so often our simple lack of awareness of those opportunities keeps us from participating. So don't feel, if you're not the idea person or the founder of a company, that you can't participate in all this technology innovation that's taking place. There are, so that's one of the variety of ways that BDPA is looking to connect. Just when we say talent from the standpoint of take any emerging company, and typically it's one or two people out of the gate, and then get a little bit of support and start hiring. Hiring what? Management team, hiring what? Board, staff, director. Traditionally, groups like the BDPA have been focused on corporate America, and I get it. I mean, most of the minority professional groups have partnered with corporate America. And what's happening, particularly the last few years, as everyone probably here well knows, corporate America has been shedding jobs, offshoring them, downsizing, right-sizing for years. And it's frankly spitting out entrepreneurs on a regular basis out of necessity. And so, at the same time, you've got this wave of new businesses being created from groups like Tech Town and Visit and all these organizations. And there's, across the country now, groups like a Tech Town, thousands of companies emerging that are tomorrow's big companies that most minorities have no idea is even taking place. So one of the opportunities that BDPA has, as Detroit's kind of innovation wave begins to take place, is to get on now with this trend, whether you're an entrepreneur or not. Hope that makes some sense, because again, we're going to be communicating through the BDPA, emerging companies that are looking for talent to join the team, looking for investors, looking for suppliers, whatever it may be. There's all sorts of ways to connect. So don't have to be an entrepreneur per se to participate in entrepreneurship, because there's just so many roles to wrap around an emerging company. When we talk about entrepreneurship, what does that mean? This is where the participation comes in. What does that mean to you? I'm going to force you guys to answer the question. Because entrepreneurship means different things to different people. Entrepreneurship, just some random quick, what does it mean to you?
Gotta
Vision,
sell to eat.
Okay, good.
having a vision and willing to take action on it.
Excellent, excellent, excellent.
Finding a need and filling that need with your business.
Okay, good, good. Others?
Oh, taking ownership of what you love.
Okay, excellent.
Freedom to fail or succeed.
Okay, good,
Recognizing opportunity.
okay. Good, all good. Anything?
And provide what your customers need.
Okay. When you hear the term high growth, what does that mean to you?
Scale.
What does that mean to you?
Headaches, blood.
Revenue, high revenue. I'm gonna, high
I'll
revenue
rephrase.
leads to.
I'll rephrase. The reason I bring that up is how we define terms like that will determine how you prepare yourself for money. Because high growth to one group is not the same as high growth to another. So for example, if we put a dollar amount to it, so when we say scalable, for example, in a 5 to 7 year runway, what would you think from an annual sales standpoint, high growth looks like? 5 to 7 years out.
5 to 7 years out. Breaking even in 5 years.
Just top line, top line.
A 20% growth rate over a period of time. I mean,
Okay.
you know, it could be annually or it could be at the end of 5 years. Well, you need, I say 5 in a 5 year, maybe 30%.
Put a hard number to it, like a dollar figure of annual sales that you would say is high growth. I'm gonna have a
I know, right?
rationale for this in a
business,
minute.
small business,
I would
middle
say
size,
15%.
Okay, okay.
75
I mean, it depends on your type of business.
Yeah, it depends
Yeah,
on
it
your business
does.
and where you're
Yeah,
starting.
sure.
Right, because it's
Versus, you know, if you have a low cost, low risk coming in, you know, you can have growth of 2,000%. But if you have high expenditures, you know, you got capital investment, you got, you know, hardware, you got cost of labor, you know, you could be looking at seeing 10% as being wonderful. Well, it all depends on the industry you walk into.
Right. Now, I agree, so I'm purposefully being a pain. So I'm gonna give you guys, and it's just food for thought, 5 standard definitions or criteria for high growth in the eyes of equity investors, or put another way, venture capitalists or angel investors. So what do they look for high growth wise? This is not Darrin, you know, this is just extracting years of data and what it says. Typically, in a 5 to 7 year window, they're looking for, again, yes, it does vary certainly by industry, type of business. Certain businesses have huge margins, certain ones have tiny margins, so you got to make it up on volume and all of that. But typically, the general minimum is about 10 million in terms of annual sales in a 5 to 7 year time lift. So if you're starting from square one, you know, ramping up to that. If you're already doing 5, 10 million, it's an incremental lift. And the reason for that is typically it's, and this is all, you know, we'll try to throw a lot into this out. So investors look at your company strictly as an asset to be invested in, to get their money back in about 5 years. Compare your business to investing in the stock market, mutual funds, whatever. You're an asset to be invested in. They're going to look at you the same way. And so typically, if they're going to invest And on average, these numbers are all meaningful, the typical angel investor is investing 50 to a couple $100,000, max is about $1 million. There has to be enough upside that's going to allow them to get that capital back and a meaningful return in the same sort of time horizon that they would get their money back from some other sort of investment. And so it's interesting how to a bank, 20% growth is right on point. That's kind of steady, fairly predictable, pretty much unattractive to a lot of the equity investors. They want to see the whole hockey stick stuff. Primarily also because they're taking risk the bank won't take. So let's talk about that just for a second. The bank is not interested in losing a dime, which is why you have to demonstrate at least 2 forms of repayment, historical cash flows, home equity, collateral, the whole nine. An investor is more of a risk taker. They're willing, if they can be sold on the vision, to take this leap of faith with you. But if they're going to go on this ride, they want to be compensated for that risk. So that's why it's interesting. I was at a quick sidebar discussion. I was at a meeting a couple of years back with some very seasoned minority entrepreneurs. Seasoned from the standpoint of these were folks that in certain cases were kind of running kind of second generation businesses that they took over from, pops, and, in certain cases anywhere from 5 to 50, you're the only partner. That is a compelling competitive advantage. So there's got to be something that's distinguishing you from everybody else. Questions on that?
So that type of practice right there, where you become an exclusive provider of a service or something like that to a partner, would you have to get the letter of intent to do business or something like that before you take it to the BC and say?
Typically you get a letter of intent. Yeah, so not in every case, but generally, or at least some Swiss cheese version of it, so they know that it's pending, at least you're in discussions. And the capital would then be subject to that actually closing. But you don't have to actually get the deal closed per se, as long as it's in the works. But the money would typically be subject to you actually getting it closed.
So you run into the perspective where you need more of the capital to get the letter of intent. As in you say, they do the background, says that, well,
Right.
we need to see $500,000 assets or $250,000 assets before.
It can be a chicken and egg sort of thing. However, there's so much out here. So have you guys heard of the Michigan Minority Supply Development Council? Part of the National Minority Supply Development Council. Most have heard of that. Have you heard of the Business Consortium Fund? Which is one of the great tragedies in my mind. That fund was created for all of the councils across the country. Back in the late 80s, the BCF, you can Google it, Business Consortium Fund. So let me just real quickly describe how that works. But there are live discussions taking place today in that regard with certain African American associations looking to merge, essentially. I know there have been discussions with African American and Hispanic. I haven't seen that come to fruition, but the discussions are certainly starting. And because we've got, of course, again, the good fortune of sitting down with all these folks, and it's a repetitive story. Everyone, and the association's budgets are drying up because the shift of corporate America, they can't do what they always did and all that, right? And so you're, in many cases, forced to figure out a new way. And so that, in many ways, is a good thing. because there are other ways out here. And what's really interesting is there's a group of foundations under an association called Living Cities. You guys look at livingcities.org or just look at Living Cities. It's about 25 of the largest foundations in the country, if not the world. So, you know, Gates, Ford, Rockefeller, Kellogg, etc. And most of those foundations are increasingly funding groups like this, Tech. And so, from my perspective, the minority professional groups that start to really align themselves with, it's a combination of new funding sources and a new strategy, because most of this kind of stuff has little to do with corporate America. This is about tomorrow's opportunities, to your point about, you know, globalization, you know, creating tomorrow's big companies and being able to be on the ground floor of that, whether you're the entrepreneur or just someone on the management team or on the board or whatever. So the same sort of, think about it this way. If you look at what the pull has been to corporate America, whether it's entry-level jobs, management jobs, aspiring to be at senior executive level, C-level, board, that same stuff takes place in these emerging companies, but your profile, the profile of a C-level executive of an emerging company is a very different profile, the C-level of a large corporation. And so junior members, in many respects, talented enough, a couple of years out of school, could theoretically be on the C-level of an emerging company. Look at a lot of these companies where kids are coming out of school. I mean, you know, so it's like, it's a whole different minds, and I think the association that really connects to that, all the same stuff, management, board, director positions, on down to being an entrepreneur yourself, is ripe for the taking. And so I know that Beverly, and frankly your national president, Craig Brown, is really trying to make some significant changes in that regard. So he's very much aware of the need to do something different. Did that answer, long answer to your question?
No, very good answer, thank you.
So, yes.
Well, in your opinion, what I've noticed in the trend, I attend a lot of these entrepreneur meetings at D-Hive and at Wisdom. Is Detroit going in the right direction? Because it looks like what they're pushing is not the business that you're talking about, the scalable business. They're basically talking about the small business that you keep.
Yeah.
Now, is that a good direction for Detroit, or is that a good starting point to build from?
That is a great lead-in to these darn things that I brought in. So, in fact, you look behind you on the wall, and I just brought a bunch to hand out. Have you guys seen this BizGrid?
Yeah, I've seen it.
This BizGrid thing? So, I brought a bunch so you guys can take it with you. The reason this begins to answer your question is, this has all those groups you mentioned divided up by their area of focus. So those that you've participated in do in fact focus on kind of traditional small business. But there's various others that don't. And so, and I would really encourage you to connect with some of the groups like a Detroit Innovate, which is a newer one. It's part of the Invest Detroit kind of family of funds over there. That's all about scalable growth stuff. And so it's a good kind of roadmap of which organizations are focused on what type of entrepreneur. And so, this BizGrid is a great tool to kind of who's supporting what, where can I go for the kind of support and assistance I'm looking for. So this is a good document to address your question, because not all are focused on the traditional small.
Right. Now, in your opinion, it's not going to save you, but which direction is one that would definitely have a bigger benefit for Detroit? I mean, they always keep saying the small business, but is it going to be that business that's small but scalable?
Yeah, it's a combination. I mean, I'm always one, it's not, all or nothing. I think you always have a place for traditional small business, but historically, it's been frankly too much of that. And so, there's all sorts of studies that Kauffman Foundation and others have done, where the net new jobs that are coming from, and it's typically a lot of these scalable startup companies. And so, and just think about that. I mean, those businesses that have upside create more jobs. And so most of your small businesses have anywhere from a couple to 5 people. And so helpful, certainly, you don't want to get rid of all that. But, the bigger hits come from the kind of stuff we were talking about, things that really have upside potential, create 50, 100 or more jobs. And so there really wasn't much of that going on in Detroit until the last couple of years. And so that's why you've seen things like this Detroit Innovate Group that recently got, some funds from the New Economy Initiative to really focus on scalable, high-tech, higher growth kind of stuff. And so there was way too much. And I will say this, most of the minority assistance folks almost exclusively focus on traditional schools. So we're talking to the folks like the African American Chamber, Ken Harris and other folks to really adopt, some complementary. So I'm never one to say, X out, of course, completely, but we have to complement that with other stuff. And that's a big issue for minority assistance groups all over the country. Well, thank you all for your time. I appreciate this. Hopefully this was somewhat helpful. I will leave some business cards if you have any questions that hit you beyond today. I'm happy to take a deeper dive into, personal strategy you guys may be thinking about in terms of starting or growing your company. Happy to go through some of that stuff. So appreciate the time. I'll leave some of these.
Thank you for coming out too. And we appreciate all of you for coming out this evening. Next month, we'll be back here on the third Thursday of the month. The president of TechTown is scheduled to be our guest next month, and
She's awesome. Leslie Smith.
okay, thank you, Leslie Smith. So we hope that you will come back to that. I know you'll see the invitations that'll come out through Meetup or Eventbrite. So please take the opportunity to come back with us for that. If we have surveys out, so if you would be so kind as to fill out the surveys just to give us an idea of some things you might want to hear in the future, or just to give us some feedback, positive or negative. And because we do want to try and continue to get better at the things that we have to do. And let's see what other. Anything else, Kristen?
I would say just since we have a small group, have everyone introduce themselves to let us know what you're about, so to help us even better provide a program that you need to help you get further ahead in your career or your entrepreneurial venture. I'll start off. I'm Cliff Samuels Jr. I'm the Vice President of TAC, which is the Technology Automation Committee. Basically, my committee is in charge of the geeks, those who want to get deep down into technology. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Check me out on Facebook, LinkedIn. I do have Pinterest, don't use it much. Email. So I'm out there. Check our website all the time. Check out meetup.com. We're posting our events on there. Eventbrite also. So let us know what you're looking for, because we're working to bring in those type of people. Darrin is a great example. Now you know what's happening in the entrepreneurial space, Detroit, which is hot, and it's getting hotter, but we're not really there in force yet, unfortunately. That's one thing, living in downtown Detroit, it's great because I can go to those little events and see what's happening, and a lot of times I can count on one hand, how many black folks are in those events, and that needs to change. Especially when they say this is for Detroit, and we know Detroit is 80% black.
Wow, okay. My name is Robert Jones. I'm an IT professional. I've been into banking as well as worked for the state of Michigan and dealing with data security, that footprint networks. Actually, Cliff and I worked together for some period of time. I'm also a co-founder and partner with a group called the Kinetic Group. We're a national group of collaborative business and men and ladies throughout the country. We use third-party vendors to provide commercial as well as residential savings on about 13, 14 different markets. We're actually the 77th largest direct sales company in the world. We just provide a lot of various products and services that people will never pay off, as we say. We do a lot of collaborative work. And some of our clients include Greektown Casino, some counties in New York. We've actually done work with the Salvation Army, and it's a very exciting group, and I enjoy it.
Tomorrow Poole, project manager, I'm kind of the word, financial program manager. Also, went on TNT Global Solutions. That is a telecom service provider based out of Houston. My brother and I, we were a C-level provider to AT&T. Been doing it for about 18 months. Things went really well. We've been in that area of expertise between me and them for about 15 years. So this year we're looking to move forward to become a partner. So that's our strategy for the end of 2014.
My name is Marcus Haynes. I'm a technical consultant for a company called SIG Holdings. Been in IT now for about 20 years. Saw this invitation, decided to come check y'all out and see what's happening, because like you just mentioned, for the little time I've been in IT, you don't see a lot of minorities at all, especially groups that come together and try to, find other, resources and assets and stuff like that in this career field. So I just came to see what you guys had to offer, what you're talking about.
Fantastic. This is great. My name is Beverly Moore. I am the president of BDPA Detroit chapter, and I would like to again welcome you all. And BDPA is a national organization. The Detroit chapter has been around about 32 years. National organization about 35, maybe 36 years. And it came about when Earl Pace and the late David Wimberly were at a technical conference, and they found themselves as the only ones there. And so that's how BDPA got started originally. They went back and sat in the kitchen and came up with BDPA. And so that's how it got started. And what we do is we're a professional networking organization to help promote the careers of IT professionals. We do that from the classroom to the boardroom. One of our premier programs we have is our high school computer competition, where we train high school students to prepare to participate at the national conference competition. They train from like February through July. And then a team of 5 or so will then go to the national conference where they compete. And there's usually about 25, 26 teams that compete from across the country. And so that program yields scholarships for the students for participating. They get computers, laptops, but more importantly, they learn how to work as a team. They learn how to work together, and that's the skill that the companies look at that program mostly for, is getting students who know how to work together in teams. So that's one of our premier programs. As you can see, this is our monthly program. We do this every month. This is our information exchange. It's also our official membership drive, where you don't have to be a member to attend this meeting. We have guest speakers, and we provide some hors d'oeuvres to help entice you to come and hear about us. And so we are here on the third Thursday of every month, and this is where our home is Tech Town. And we bring in people like Darius, who has connected with BDPA for opportunities, and we want to make sure that our members can be able to take advantage of that. There is a lot of good stuff about to go on, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it right now. I'd be here for a little while, but there's some really, really exciting stuff happening. And it's not like I'm going out and I'm building this and making it happen. Companies are coming to us. Organizations are coming to us. They're calling me up at home. And I'm like, how'd you get my home number? But I'm glad you got it. So consider being a member of BDPA. One of the other things BDPA provides is an opportunity for professional development. I mean, you can learn to do things and build leadership skills by participating, getting involved in BDPA, and then when you have to do these things in the workplace, it's a piece of cake. If you can do it, work with BDPA and not have to worry about losing your job, and learn new skills and develop your leadership skills. So consider that as an opportunity and take advantage of that and talk to us about becoming a member and getting involved in the chapter. And there are some events coming up, and I will let
We actually did talk about.
you talk about that.
Okay.
Okay.
I think next month with Leslie. No, we talked about the national. We talked about Leslie coming next month.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. You don't want to miss that. Leslie is going to talk about some things that are going to blow your socks off. Also, BDPA is a national organization. I mentioned that, and we have a national conference coming up. It is in August, and it will be the first full week in August, and it will be in Indianapolis this year. This conference happens every year, and every year is in a different place. And at this conference, in addition to the professional workshops and seminars and your keynote speaker, awards banquet, there is a 2-day career fair. And at that career fair, you will find 40 to 50 of the top companies in IT looking for folks to hire. I mean, if anybody's been trying to get an interview with Microsoft or IBM, they're gonna be at the conference for 2 days. And I don't know of any other career fair in the United States that has all these folks in one place for 2 days looking for us. So that in itself makes it worth a trip to go to the conference, especially if you're looking for opportunities. Not to mention that we got people coming to the conference from all across the country. And when you leave that conference, you're gonna be pumped up because you're gonna meet people talking about all kinds of stuff, and you're gonna build a network that's gonna be just awesome. Because BDPA is a national organization, we have about over 40 chapters across the United States. So that means that any major city you land in, you've got a network. And it's important to have a network before you need it. And when you join BDPA, you get an immediate network all across the country. So, thank you. Thank you for coming. Please eat up the food. Take some chicken wings and eat some more salad. And appreciate you coming out. And before we close it out, I'd like to do one more last official thing. And on behalf of BDPA Detroit, I'd like to present you with a certificate of appreciation.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
thank you.
My pleasure, and feel free to invite me back if you feel like it was somewhat helpful. Happy to return. So appreciate everyone's attention, and again, as I left a couple business cards and the biz grid of all the resources in the region. So feel free, and